The next talk is by Pablo Cuadrado Garcia. He has a vast degree, a vast curriculum with an undergraduate degree, a master's degree. His talk is entitled Official gvSIG Training on gvSIG Desktop, Current Situation, Certification, Cooperation and University Education. My presentation is short. It's just an overview of gvSIG education and training. It describes the current situation. And I'll be pleased to have your comments on it about our training system. I suppose you know the gvSIG certification. It consists of a number of modules focused on users as beginners, advanced students, and one for developers. But this is not only for gvSIG desktop, but for other gvSIG products, for open source geomatics, and for other gvSIG applications. The association gvSIG plays a dual role. On the one hand, it ensures the quality of the services and it meets the demand for softwares, and we know that training is one of the main pillars. Training in turn is the basis for dissemination and usage. A part of the budget on training returns to the association, which makes the project sustainable over the long run. The training or the certification is organized into credits. It is modular, and credits can be obtained, can be earned in different ways. You know the portal, gvSIG Training. There are 2 summons every year. And there are collaborating companies like us, professional associations, universities like Cesario, or us in Huelva, and trade unions and other organizations. The certification enhances the versatility, and it's interesting for people, for them to benefit from these options. And finally, we have MOOC courses, which also give entitlement to the certificate. This is a slide with contributing companies. I suppose we all know each other, don't we? The companies that participate in the training and educational activities. And here are the organizations, the institutions: University of Huelva, Miguel Hernández. Some statistics about gvSIG training. 2014, 227 courses delivered, 157 online, 71 face-to-face. Number of countries, 24. Spain and Latin America standing out. Number of certificates issued, 2,186. And number of students registered, 2,623. Number of teachers, 51. And languages of the courses, Spanish, English and Portuguese. English is basic, really, because it contributes to internationally disseminating gvSIG. So it's important to invest in disseminating the tool in English. I have a few questions concerning training and trying to explore avenues for the future. Is the certification model correct? Is it adequate? We know that any software company, Microsoft, whatever, they all have certification and they have pros and cons. Sometimes they tell you the certification will expire, or other companies may ask you to do retakes or to have a course to give you the certification, or they ask you to validate your experience. Well, if it's clear that you can handle the tool, sometimes you're given a certificate or a course and an exam. And do certificates expire? Because this morning when we talked about the new version, version 2.1, obviously it's going to be very different. So what happens in these cases? What do? We validate it? Does it expire? Yearly certification plans for companies? Or shall we boost internationalization, Giuliano? These are just a few questions and basically food for thought. And a few more thoughts. The SIG training sector, if compared to other sectors such as metal building, for instance, is obviously might not be interesting to everybody, but with gvSIG, the user profiles are so very different. We can see it here in the conference: architects, engineers, forestry engineers, people from the civil service, etc. So here's a chart of the different qualifications users have in the students in the courses, and this is the list, and it includes 50 professions. This could work to our advantage. Obviously, it's very enriching, but it can also be a disadvantage because it's very difficult to adapt the contents. Obviously, you don't want to deliver the same contents to a forestry engineer or to an architect. Many of the users, we sometimes forget that users of gvSIG use it as a means, it's not their job. It's very few of us who dedicate their 100% of their job to GIS or to gvSIG. So this is a bit delicate because we are all responsible for this. If I am a historian and I sign up for a basic course and they show me a very complicated dot cloud, then I can't complain, obviously. But and the other way around, if it's not exactly the contents I expect for my particular profile, well, and we sometimes overlook this. And yes, on the previous slide, I must say the expert course has been fostered by a forestry department from a university, and that may lead us to think that the main student profile in this group is forestry engineers, but in actual fact it is geographers who attend this course. Maybe it could be included in the curriculum of the degree at an earlier stage, because I sometimes, I'm really shocked to see that geologists or geographers, don't have any knowledge at all sometimes on GIS. I think they should be taught about GIS. They should be taught GIS before in the degree, earlier. In Spain, we know education is subsidized, but in a very complex system. We work in two ways. On the one hand, we sort of give bonus supplements. And sometimes you think training is free of charge, but it is actually partly paid by the company. All these avenues should be explored because sometimes it's hard for SMEs to fund the training of their employees, and sometimes it is the employees who come up with solutions. But it is not easy for us to reach SMEs and tell them they can resort to these funding lines. Maybe with those companies we should play a more active role and inform them. I don't know if you know it, but education is a heated discussion these days, but I am always very honest. I tell people what the cost is all about, the price from the very beginning, and I tell them the truth. We don't give any presents away, we don't give gifts away, but we try to make contents as meaningful as possible, particularly for SMEs. We think we need to explore these payment methods and consider all the possibilities. We can try and help the students to find the funding resources and funding means, but obviously the course needs to be paid for. And there are other subsidies to these training courses, subsidized training. Sometimes funds are available to certain sectors in society, and so people could apply for funding. There are funding lines for the unemployed, for certain sectors, for freelancers. We can give advice on these funding lines, and maybe we can ask trade unions to pay for the costs. But what happens in these cases when, for instance, a union pays for the course? Well, sometimes the students think, it is free, and therefore they drop out. So, and we've got records of this. When students pay for the course, dropout rates are not that high. This type of training is highly regulated, and therefore we are subject to the ups and downs in regulations. And I would like to mention that there are entry barriers to trainers, to contents, and to organizations. Many of these courses are sometimes encouraged by professional associations or other institutions. Therefore, cooperation needs to be reached with them. This is an example of a subsidized training program with this particular foundation, Fundación de Estudios Sociales de los Sectores de la Industria y la Agricultura. They have already planned on organizing 175 courses for user certification and 50 advanced user certification courses. Finally, in university we find some reluctance sometimes, while other universities are more cooperative. At the University of Huelva, we have two specific qualifications of our university, which include gvSIG as a course and other courses like the one Cesario gives his masters.
Y en otro posgrado, pues no es producto central, el gvSIG, otro punto
We
crítico
believe
para
gvSIG should also be included in other postgraduate courses.
no hay más, ¿no? Y bueno, ya está. Ahora, enlazo con César y luego
Thank you.